Picture this. It's the evening of July 28, 1994, and you're at the ballpark in Arlington. It's the top of the ninth inning with 1 out to go when the pitcher takes the mound, throws the ball, and the batter hits the ball. 46,581 fans are all on their feet, silent, watching as the ball seems to hang in midair. Is it going to be caught? Finally, when the outfielder catches the ball, the crowd goes crazy. The players storm the field. Why? Because they've witnessed a moment in history. The event, the perfect game pitched by Kenny Rogers at the Texas Rangers at the ballpark in Arlington. What's the perfect game? The perfect game is when not only no runs or points are scored, but it's also when no hits and no errors occur. And me, I was there. I was a witness to that moment in history. See, growing up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I went to a lot of Texas Rangers games. And in fact, I was there so much that you could probably call it my second home. So today, I'm going to tell you about the Texas Rangers. So first I'll tell you a little bit about how they came to be the Texas Rangers. Then I'm going to tell you about the stadiums that they were able to call their home. Then I'm going to tell you about some history that has been made with the Texas Rangers. So first, let's take a moment back in time and look at how the Texas Rangers came to be the Texas Rangers. See, they were originally called the Washington Senators out of Washington, D.C. But in the late 1960s, the owner of the Washington Senators decided to move the team to Arlington, Texas for the start of the 1972 baseball season. So when they moved to Texas, they can't be called the Washington Senators, so they decided to rename themselves the Texas Rangers after the famous law enforcement agency. So now I've told you a little bit about how they came to be the Texas Rangers. Let's look at where they would play. When they moved to Arlington, all that was originally there was a minor league stadium known as Turnpike Stadium, but they expanded it and renamed it Arlington Stadium, and in 1972, the Texas Rangers began playing at the Arlington Stadium. In 1994, the ballpark in Arlington was built, and that's where they began playing, and they still play there to this day. Interesting fact, both years that they moved stadiums, a players' strike occurred. Players' strike began the 1972 season, which actually delayed the season starting by a couple weeks. And a players' strike ended the 1994 season, which actually worked out for the benefit of the Texas Rangers, where they won their first ever division title. But unfortunately, they would not go on to play any more baseball that year. History has been made at both stadiums, so let's take a look at those events. The Texas Rangers have had many ups and downs throughout their histories. In 1972, Toby Harrah became the first Texas Ranger to make the All-Star team. In 1973, Jim Bibby became the first Texas Ranger to pitch a no-hitter. A no-hitter is when no runs are scored, but batters can still make it to base by walks or errors. On July 3, 1983, the Rangers set a major league record by scoring 12 runs in an extra inning. And in 1998, unfortunately, they became the least valuable franchise in baseball. But it picked up again in 1991 when Nolan Ryan threw his 7th and final career hitter at Arlington Stadium, which also made him the oldest pitcher to throw a no-hitter. And as mentioned before, Kenny Rogers pitched the perfect game in 1994, and as recently as 2012, Josh Hamilton made record books when he hit 4 home runs in one single game. They've had their ups and downs, you can see, and winning the division championship seems to follow the same path for them. The Texas Rangers have had their share of almosts when it comes to postseason baseball. They've won 6 division championships. In 1994, they won their first when the players' strike occurred. In 1996, 1998, and 1999, they faced the New York Yankees. In all 3 years, the Yankees beat them to go on to the World Series. But in 2010-2011, the Rangers finally made it to the World Series. See, in 2010 World Series, the Rangers faced the San Francisco Giants. But unfortunately, by Game 5, the San Francisco Giants won. But 2011, that was the Texas Rangers' year. They began the World Series with high hopes, and it was by Game 6. It could be anybody's game. But unfortunately, the St. Louis Cardinals, who they played that year, hit a walk-off home run and won the World Series. That's a cool moment in history, but unfortunately it wasn't for the Texas Rangers. As a Texas Rangers fan, while I'm sad that they've never won the World Series, I'm extremely happy that they were able to make it. And some of the reasons why they've had so many good times in their history is because of the players that are on their team. They've had great players like Gaylord Perry and Ferguson Jenkins at the beginning of their franchise history. And as recently as the 80s and 90s, they had Nolan Ryan, who actually retired from baseball with the Texas Rangers. Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, as he's known, I grew up seeing him play. He's known as one of the best defensive catchers of all time. Other players such as A-Rod, Juan Gonzalez, and most recently as Michael Young, Mike Napoli, Josh Hamilton, they've all been players for the Texas Rangers. And today, they still have many great players such as Ian Kinsler and Nelson Cruz, who have made the All-Star team many times. So I hope you've learned a lot about the Texas Rangers. First I told you that they began as the Washington Senators. Then I told you about the places, the stadiums that they were able to call their home. I told you about some ups and downs that they've had and how they've made it to the World Series. And I told you how if it weren't for some of their players, they might not have made it that far. They've had some great players. But remember the perfect game that I spoke of earlier? It's such a wonderful feeling to be one of those 46,581 fans, standing, watching, waiting, wondering the same thing. Catch that ball and we win. Not just them, but we. Because see, to the fans of baseball, to the fans of Texas Rangers and the players alike, it's not just a it's not just a game. It's a way of life.